It is a gift to drop into this place and just be. My heart is full these days, of joy, yes, and sadness too. Grief overflows and gratitude overwhelms. The duality of being. Our thoughtful discussion yesterday about where to start reignited my thinking around a revisioned term I encountered for the first time last fall, witnessing. I credit Ramona Elka's teachings from Dis-ease, Grieving, Teaching, and Surrender. Citing Lichtenberg-Ettinger, Elka embraces witnessing so that the act of witnessing becomes a shared experience, one that offers company for the confrontation of uncomfortable and or dissonant truths. And I offer that witnessing also be embraced for sharing in the dualities of being. It was the act of witnessing that brought us together at Provoking Curriculum, and it is the embracing of witness that will move us forward in this beautifully emergent work. And so we begin with gratitude.
Witnessing. Beautiful. There's something so profound about being seen, even, maybe especially, in the darkness. But it isn't the same, is it, as witnessing? Being with versus being an observer. Are we ever truly just an observer? Aren't we always enmeshed within? Well, Alan, thank you for getting us started on this journey. Today, I'm tired and grateful for the fullness in my life that makes me tired.
Two-eyed seeing refers to learning to see from one eye with the strength of indigenous ways of knowing and from the other eye with the strength of Western ways of knowing, and to using both of these eyes together. By Bartlett, Marshall, and Marshall, 2012. I've been reflecting on the idea of two-eyed seeing as a way of witnessing and entering in. I am skeptical. And then I consider who I am and if it is possible to do this in a way that doesn't extract or take from. I am not sure I want to see, experience, or be in this way. And while I know that two-eyed doesn't mean seeing in the literal sense, I am wondering about that.
Witnessing. Still thinking about that gift. Last year, I was asked to take a few tobacco plants home to my garden to grow for the summer. These ceremonial plants were from Blackfoot ceremonialist Treffry Deerfoot. No words or instruction or expectations were given, just a plea to me, among others, to help grow the plants. Despite feeling afraid and a bit uncomfortable, I took 4 and planted 2 in pots and 2 in the ground out back. The 2 in the one big pot on wheels were tended with care each day as they required daily watering. If it threatened to hail, I wheeled it under the porch for cover. The 2 in the ground were harder to protect. They were open to the elements, and yet they grew the highest and strongest. They required less tending and produced more flowers and leaves. What lessons do you have for me, little tobacco plants?
Walking and Movement as Dwelling in Motion. Dwayne Donald, 2021. While riding through the forest today on my bike, I was surrounded by the sun, the green aspens and pines and mountains, the Rocky Mountains, and I was saturated by the goodness and the beauty. I had time to while and linger over the idea of how stories and teachings live in my and our DNA, both in your body and embodied by you. Between and amongst these thoughts, I reflect on the ways in which we ask students to gather, to learn, and to become in schools. What if we center these places we come to learn together around teachings and wisdoms that lives in the places, spaces, and people that know this place in their bodies? The people that carry wisdom and teachings in their human forms here on earth. What if we centered learning in listening? This idea of knowledge as demand and receive, give and take, for me, does not exist in the outdoor places I spend time with. Here, I can hear the stories, and I can feel kinship in my body. This care for and care of when I'm here in the mountains.
Kept the seeds from the tobacco plants, dried them over the winter, and wondered what would come of them. I planted them indoors under lights alongside the zucchini seeds and beans, and little seedlings sprouted, but they didn't thrive. What lessons do you have for me, little tobacco plants? As the ground warmed and thawed, I took the seed pods outside. With prayers, I scattered them over the ground, hopeful. Another call with a request for me, among others, to take plants again this year. 2 plants smudged and planted in the garden out back. No pots this year, just earth welcoming them. Daily watering and watching, but also trusting they would thrive. What's that? How could it be that there are so many weeds that are covering the ground? Well, those aren't weeds, I realized. Neither early nor late, seedlings sprouted and covered the ground, like little puppies jumping up with excitement at the feet of the tall tobacco plants. Mere days later, these prayed for seeds planted in the ground are robust, beautiful tobacco plants. What lessons do you have for me, little tobacco plants?
The heart, as Leanne Beasamose Simpson writes, is the compass of life, orienting us to what really matters: relationships, knowledge, and experiences of the heart. In my family story, water beats in time with that compass. It is the gravitational pull that returns me home. It is the place where joy and loss have long coexisted. And it is the element to which I will return my father. As it so often, read always, does, my body knew I needed to come home before my heart and my mind did. I had been growing increasingly restless in the weeks leading up to coming home. I was aching for the water, the scent of it, the feel of it, the sound of it. I'd been having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, and I couldn't make my morning coffee strong enough to overcome the turbulent nights. My restlessness met Mum's when she picked me up from the train station. We weren't yet in the car for 10 minutes when she said, "I'm not sleeping well. I'm restless. And I think I'm restless because we haven't put your dad to rest." A moment. "Mum," I said, "my body has been telling me the same thing." "It's time," she said. "It's time to put him to rest." And with one shared breath, we agreed.
I'm grateful for this breath and this one that has me arrive back here, back to our shared writing and witnessing. Reading your reflections and musings provides me with an embodied sense of belonging, a resonance that just sent shivers down my arms and legs when I consider your journey to bringing your dad home to the water. I had the same pull to a brook that I've never swam in, never lived beside, didn't think I knew. Middle Branch Brook came to me in my dreams, still does sometimes. My father was a young boy alongside that brook. I imagine him finding joy there, carefree, maybe. Maybe for the only moments in his life.
We weren't ready to say goodbye. We never will be. It made more sense to us to inter his ashes during his favorite time of the year, summer. And so, the planning begins to inter Dad's ashes, to return him to the water that nourished the pickerel he would catch to feed our family, the water that buoyed our bodies when we swam, the water that will continue to flow as our family navigates the ever-evolving currents of life. And now the water waits, ready to receive him. I trust the water to keep Dad close, to carry his spirit gently forward, just as it has always carried us. The water will bring him home, and it will always bring me home.
The idea of being buoyed by water has stayed with me. My body remembers floating above and being held at the same time, the feeling that lingers in our bodies long after we have stepped onto dry land. As you walk through these days of grief, may your body remember what it means to be held and the peace that comes from that water.
In 2023, I mailed my dad's ashes from my home in Calgary to my aunt's house in Buckens, Newfoundland. Mailed him. My dad left for the happy hunting grounds on September 10th, 2020. No funeral. No words were spoken in his honor, save for the ones that I prayed after my boys and I sang the Mi'kmaq honor song when the funeral home called to inform me they were about to return my dad's body to ashes, to the fire. We stood in my bedroom, rattles and drums, tears and trust, that this last song would be a good travel song. July 23rd, 2023. 3 of my dad's sisters joined me as we waded into the middle branch and sang his ashes home to the water. Water, fire, water. Embodied knowing. Trust. Walaliok, walaliok, walaliok.
As I too reflect on water and our relationships to water, my mind takes me to the waters that brought my family to this land from Scotland and England, uninvited. Two matriarchs, both having recently lost their husbands, each with a brood of children, courageously sailing from the waters they knew to a land with new waters, each with a story of tragedy that pushed them to leave, each with the hope that they would find peace. I trust that they did not know their lives were being written into another tragic meta story, one of attempted erasure and genocide, where they were the beneficiaries and the oppressor. However, not knowing does not erase the harm. On this Orange Shirt Day, a day of truth telling and honoring of the 150,000 children who were taken to Indian residential schools in Canada and separated from their culture, families, kin, and land, I consider the truth about the story of Canada, the truth about my family's story, and the responsibility I have to renew and repair my relationship to these waters, this land, and Indigenous peoples.
Lately, I just want to sit in the river, let it flow around me, hear it, feel the temperature, listen to where the rocks and riverbed rises and flows and creates pockets of air and gurgles with movement, and learn in that way, immersed. I don't want to keep taking the water away from the river.